Sometimes, exploring means making initial observations and speculations. I'm author and researcher Mike Luoma, looking into the ancient stone mysteries of New England and sharing what I find in my videos, writing, and Facebook group. The old Mob's Farm in Jericho, Vermont, near Burlington, is now conserved recreation space, crisscrossed by trails for walking, hiking, mountain biking, and more. According to geologists, this was one of the first deglaciated areas in the Champlain Valley, which got my attention. I usually find interesting stonework along what were once the shorelines of Vermont's glacial lakes and seas. Plus, the trail maps had a couple of stone walls indicated on them. There aren't a lot of stone walls in the Champlain Valley, and those I've found often appear to be older indigenous work, not colonial or later settler or farmer's work. And I found some interesting remnants of stonework on my first visits to Mob's Farm. It was early January, but winter hadn't yet brought much snow to northwest Vermont. There wasn't any in Burlington. But when I got out to Jericho, I discovered a dusting had fallen overnight, enough to make it a little difficult to see the full extent of the stonework. There are two sets of trails here, on either side of an old dirt road. The valley trails were busy with families and dog walkers, so I headed up to the hill trails. Jericho, Vermont had been gaining some attention as the fictional setting of the new Netflix dark comedy Wednesday from Tim Burton. But the series shoots in Eastern Europe, so there, Jericho doesn't actually resemble the real one all that much. Spookiest thing I found on this first visit were some old wrecked cars up on the hill. Heading up towards the stone wall on the hiking trails map, the ledges looked a bit like walls along the hillside. The stone row appeared as I neared an area near the top of the hill's southern end. It rose up along the brim of the hill, appearing and disappearing in the brush and light snow. There's a pretty nice view to the south and southwest up here. There is an element I've seen in indigenous stone rows around New England I call a surrounded stone. This may be an eye or an egg or a jewel in the heart of a great serpent. I don't know exactly what it represents, but it is a repeated element. And it was up here, too. It also seems to be a resilient piece of construction, as it seems often to be the last remnant of an old stone row left standing. I'd later find a surrounded stone in a remnant of a stone row on the valley trails, too. Late winter brought several snowstorms, so it was spring before I was able to visit again. Though, again, the weather deceived me. Sunny in Burlington, the rain clouds were out in Jericho. The rain brought out the colors of the stones were exposed. This surrounded stone appears to be almost entirely quartz. Note the veins which stand out in this stone, found just next to the surrounded stone. This old stone row has been heavily impacted, buried in pine needles, duff, and dirt. These quartz stones, visible from the non-trail side of the stone row, appear to be shaped, but also to have tumbled out of place. The amount of dirt burying the stone row is one testament to its age. It's also clear this huge old pine tree grew up here after the stone row was in place, also suggesting this is an ancient stone row. The stone row seemed to end, but it reemerged before actually ending. Now, I don't believe in disturbing any stonework in the field, so I tried to peer through the brush to make out details in this apparent end of the stone row. The short stone row and its trail ended at another, which ran along a drop down to a rushing stream. There, in the middle of the trail, I found this serpentine stone construction, right in the middle of the trail. Clearly old enough and strong enough to withstand over time, and undeniably serpentine. There's another stone wall on the trail maps, which I didn't make it to on either trip, so I'll be returning at some point. There's also a modern stone memorial here. The top stone also looked like it could have once been a grinding stone or mortar. Why does it strike some as strange that indigenous people built ritual stone constructs when we do the same thing? The trail up onto the hill goes past what at first looked like a stone pile, and at the edge of a field, at first glance, it might be mistaken for field clearing. But it's not. It's part of an ancient stone causeway or a roadbed of some kind. We see that when we pull back a bit. See the stones beneath the wet dirt? And note the rise in the terrain as it continues under the brush, grass, and trees. There are other parts of this hill which appeared possibly terraced, but this stone roadbed or causeway stands out, even on Vermont LiDAR. It may have been an old road or railroad bed. I haven't seen evidence of that yet, but it's plausible. But looking at the stones on the pile makes me wonder. There seems to be a small niche exposed on the side. The prop stone on top has a prominent quartz vein exposed. And none of these things says roadbed to me. I wonder if it could be older, much older. And when I read that this is some of the first deglaciated land in the area on the shores of Glacial Lake, Vermont, it struck me. Could this have been an ancient stone pier along the shore? Speculation at this point, of course, but there's something about this place that has me wondering what more might be going on here. More to think about, with still more to see. I'm Mike Luoma. Thank you for experiencing some intriguing stonework in Jericho, Vermont with me.